Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Foreigner Footy Files. I'm Natalia Pinkney, and this is episode 9, Booked and Busy. So this is now the 6th file in the Australian folder. And per usual, here is another poem from the Pieces of My Path. This poem is titled, If You Were Me. You know what's funny? The way the locals on the team look at me, as if I've got it made. Feet up, hands behind my head, getting paid. Acting like I've got it all. No stress, no obligations, just ball. When in reality, sometimes it's hard to breathe. New beginnings, new language, new everything. Proving my worth, financially, personally, meeting standards, or I gotta leave. When I go home, it's to me. No partner, no family. Yeah, they forgot that's how it be. That grass be looking greener to them. But let's be real, this lifestyle ain't always a gem. I promise most of y'all couldn't do what I do. Trade places for a year and see how fast you say, you was right, boo. This ain't no vacation, no backpacker's dream. This is my job, my life, my everything. All right, y'all. So before we get into anything for this episode, I need to backtrack on a statement that I made last episode. Y'all know my girl Milky. I've mentioned her a million times. You are not familiar. She hit me up in my messages and just wanted to make something very clear that not all Australians want to be like America or Americans. I did make that bold, blanketed statement last episode, and I just want to clarify from my personal experience. Let's put that disclaimer. My personal experience with a lot of Australians from the area that I was living in did express a lot of interest, a lot of appreciation for the American way, for the way that we did things politically, the way we did things socially. They were fans of it. So just wanted to correct myself. It is not all Australians. It is not most Australians. It's not even half Australians, most likely. It's just the Australians that I had come into contact with during the 3 years that I was living in Australia. So just want to make that clear. I am always here for checking myself and growing and knowing more. And to have an Australian check me, I felt that it would be an injustice to not come back, track back, and check myself on that statement. So just wanted to make that clear. All right, y'all. We are now in April. And let me tell you, these next 2 months, booked and busy, as the title of the episode is, on all fronts. From football to personal to just everything in between. From, my job outside of football at the cafe. It just didn't really stop for those 2 months, and there were some moments to breathe. There's about 10 days here and there within the 2 months, but for the most part, your girl was just going. And yeah, it got interesting per usual, right? Let's start with the first day of April, which was Easter this year, and coincidentally was also the day of a festival called Touch Base. And y'all remember my other homegirl, Betsy, my boo-boo. I'm not gonna name her, but yeah, she my little twin for real. And she invited me to go to this festival called Touch Base. I am a rave head, for any of y'all who do not know me. I love a good rave. I love a good concert. I love bass, partying. That's my jam. Love it. Australia also loves it. Fun fact about Australia, they be vibing hard with the festivals. I think a big part of it is that it's basically summer year round, so they can have festivals very often. But when I moved there, I had a list for the festivals that I wanted to go to. I would just tick them off. So Touch Base was the first festival that I went to after moving to Australia, and it was an interesting journey just getting there. So strap in, I'm gonna let y'all in on this adventure time. I was invited, as I said, by not just my friend, but also my host sister at the time. Now, remember, I just met these people, and at this point, I have now moved out of my first host family's house. So I'm living on my own now in my new place, and although I'm not living with them anymore, I was still cordially friends with one of the daughters from that family. And she gave me instructions on how to get to Brisbane. I remember I have never been there. I am just trying to figure out the public transport for my little area in Southport, Gold Coast area. But getting to Brisbane is a whole nother bag of beans. And she gave me instructions, said what stops to get off at, and said, okay, head here at this time, and you're going to meet up with the crew at the Airbnb that we booked for the weekend. I'm thinking, cool, no worries. I've done this before. I can travel. I can get myself there. I did not get myself there. I eventually made it there, but I got off, I think, a stop early. I traveled by myself. So everybody else had like rides and they met up at the Airbnb, and I'm taking the train by my black self. No idea where I'm going. No idea. No familiarity with anything. And I'm messaging my homegirl. I was like, hey, so sorry to bother you, but I don't know where I am and I'm not sure how to find you. And she's like, oh, no worry. Just get off at the stop that you were told to get off at. And I'm going to have some of my friends come down and meet you, because she was hosting at the Airbnb, so she didn't have time to come down. And so the friends came to meet me. I get a message from my girl, and she says, hey, where are you? I'm like, where are they? She says, they're there. Where are you? I'm like, I'm here. What you mean they there? I'm here. Where's there? Because I'm here. Turns out I got off stop too soon. I then had to walk the distance to the next stop, and I finally met up with the other people from the group, and we walked our way back to the Airbnb, and I finally made it up there to start pre-gaming and enjoying my time to be with new people, new friends, and go to the festival. Now, as I took the train, it is still quite warm, although we're going into wintertime. It's still quite warm, okay? Like, I'm wearing, like, crop top shorts, all right? So, not so cold anymore. And I'm opening my bottle of wine. Now, mind you, I'm on a women footballer's budget and working at a cafe coming out of the winter slump. So your girl ain't got much extra cash to throw around. So, of course, I bought the cheapest bottle of white wine. And my girl smells it, tastes it, and was like, put that down. You are absolutely not drinking that. You are drinking what we have. And we're going to get together. We're going to have a good time. Let's go to this festival. So we, of course, naturally take pictures before the festival. I've still got those. We are a trip. And we head into Touch Base. Now, I went, as I said, with a group of people who have known each other for ages. And I'm the new one in the group. So they're being really kind to me. They're being really inviting and super sweet, bringing me along with everything. And we get in there. But remember, I'm new. So they weren't necessarily concerned about me as much. And not in a shady way. Like, just genuinely, they didn't know me like that for real. And I ended up getting separated from the entire group. Like, probably about 10, 15 minutes into the show, I ended up on the rail by myself. Now, as I said, I'm a rave head. Love riding the rail. For those of you who don't know what that term means, no, I'm not physically riding a rail. I am on the very, very front row, the rail that's the barrier between the stage and the audience, and basically with headbang and music coming on, you grab onto that rail and you headbang your life away. Basically until you feel like your neck is trying to give up. That's what riding the rail be. So that's where you can find your girl at most times, is riding the rail. And I just popped a squat there, stayed there for the entire time. I actually ended up making it into the, what do they call it? The video at the end where they put all the clips together from the festival and they put it to promote for what that year was and for next year. So I made it into that, which is super cool. Me just headbanging by myself with a bunch of strangers because I lost the group that I came with. But regardless, it was a great time. Amazing first festival and probably one of the most exciting Easters that I've ever had. You know, spending a day of faith, headbanging, riding the rail with a bunch of people that I don't really know. So yeah, that was my first Easter in Australia and the very first day of April. Now, we're getting to April 2nd, and I get a message from my boss from the cafe. And apparently, I was supposed to turn in my TFN, my tax file number, basically right after I got hired. Your girl did not do that. So she's messaging me and she's like, hey, I kind of need that information. And I'm like, oh, my bad. So of course I'm scrambling. And turns out you're supposed to get the TFN in, as I said, like almost immediately. I think I had about a month's time when you first get a job that you're supposed to turn it in. We're past a month, y'all. Yeah, I'm late. I'm late on it. I'm scrambling the internet. I'm trying to figure out how to get this done. I have no idea what I'm doing. I found a website that was like, oh, you can get your TFN for 30 Australian dollars. I was like, oh, that's a bit steep, but sure, whatever. And then I'm messaging Milky, my coworker, and she like, I'm pretty sure it's free. Like, I don't think you got to pay for that. I was like, this website almost swindled me, bamboozled me out of $30. That's crazy. But all worries aside, I eventually got figured out. I turned my TFN into my boss. We Gucci, we cool. Your girl can keep working. No problems. Now the next day, another stressor, because why not, right? Remember the dog that I was living with, the one that had cancer? Sad, unfortunately. Yeah, he was on that strict diet with the pills and everything. And remember how I said that I wrote out like a strict hour for hour, day for day, bar for bar, word for word, strict regimen for this dog because it was my personal mission to keep this baby alive. He had a special meal made by the owner, the mom of the guy I was living with, who was, of course, also the landlord. And she had made this like specialized meals for both of the dogs. It was supposed to be full of the perfect health combination formula to keep these babies kicking. And my homie was not feeling it. He said, I'm old, I got cancer, my days are numbered, and I'm not going to be eating this healthy crap. You ain't going to give it to me. I had to force feed him, not in like physically put it down his throat, but I had to like coerce him into really enjoying this meal by putting chicken necks in the bowl with the other stuff. So I would like mix it all together and he would eat it down. Animals are smart, guys. Let's not forget that just because we have them as our pets, that they are incredibly intelligent beings. He would figure out how to, not so hard, eat around the healthy stuff and get straight to the chicken neck. It got to the point where homie would only eat raw meat. Chicken necks was the only thing he wanted to eat. I don't know if it was the medicine that they were giving him for his cancer treatment, if it just like put him back into his raw, straight animal senses from nature and was like, give me that raw meat. If I'm on the hunt, I'm on the hunt. That's what we gonna do. But homie would only eat the raw chicken neck. And I had to break the news to the landlord. I was like, listen, I don't know what's going on. I've been trying to get him to eat the other stuff that you made him. I know it's full of nutritional value and it's perfect and it's supposed to be the recipe that helps get him through this cancer treatment. And she says, all good, whatever gets him to eat, because he needs to eat to take his medication. This dog survived off of raw chicken neck. Essentially, that was almost the only thing in his diet while I lived there. And I'm pretty sure until he eventually did pass on. So yeah, raw chicken neck, y'all. For any of you who got dogs that are into the raw meat, it hits. It hits. It really does. And I just felt like, duh, you know, why wouldn't an animal just want to eat raw meat? Because that's what they would do in the wild. I think we forget as humans when we domesticate these animals that although we're giving them this great kibble, or for cats, it's this great canned food and it's full of nutritional value and blah, 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 blah. They are animals. If they had to live in the wild, they would be hunting raw, live things, killing them dead and eating them down. That's it. So it was kind of a nice reminder that they're still animals. You know, they're domesticated, but if they was in the wild, that's what they would be doing. And yeah, so moving on, I got about like 10 days apiece in the beginning of April after those first 3 days of just like full on, you know, Easter, touch base, TFN drama, dog only eating raw meat and stressing me out because I'm trying to keep this baby alive. And I don't want my landlord to kick me out because I'm failing her and her dog, even though it wasn't really my responsibility. But let's just say my roommate was less than responsible, so I had to take over. And we get to the 13th of April, which coincidentally was Friday the 13th, because why not? Why not make this month tacked in with Friday the 13th. And Friday the 13th was Com Games. So I actually forget. Oh, Commonwealth Games. I was going to say I forget what Com stands for because another thing, almost everything is shortened in Australia. I don't know if I've said that before, but they find a way to shorten everything. Everything. They can shorten any word, any name to whatever they want. So Commonwealth Games was Com Games. And I ended up going with my Milky. Now, leading up to this, she hit up my phone and was like, look, I'm really excited to go. I want to go to the track and field. I want to go see some good stuff. Are you down? Absolutely. I'm here for the new events, the new experiences. I'm in a new country, making friends. I want to experience my life to the fullest while I'm here for however long it's going to be. So sign me up. Let's do it. And we do what most responsible people do, and we procrastinated the hell out of buying these tickets. And eventually we had to buy them mad expensive. I think they were over like $130 each for the track and field day. And we finally got them. No, we didn't get them. We ended up getting the rugby sevens instead because we waited so damn long to get the track tickets that they sold out. We look online, we look on Gumtree, which was a website that you could buy a lot of things on. I really enjoyed Gumtree. For those of you who ever moved to Australia or in Australia and somehow don't know about it, Gumtree, great website. At least it was when I lived there. Don't know how it is now, but it was reliable for like buying tickets and things like that. And we ended up finding tickets for rugby sevens because although we didn't get track and field, we really wanted to go to the Com Games and experience it together. So we figured, why not rugby sevens? I had never seen a rugby game before. I don't think she had either. So it was the perfect experience for us to try something new together and just have a nice day out in the community and see what's going on. Now, later, we find out that someone is selling the tickets to track and field. And we're like, big bet. All right, another opportunity. Let's buy these tickets. But we also then had to try and sell our tickets for rugby sevens. We ended up being able to buy the tickets for track and field, which was, again, very steep. I think over like $100 each. And, of course, we were unable to sell our rugby sevens tickets. So now we had tickets to both. And in the moment, it was kind of upsetting because we spent a crap ton of money on these tickets. But it turned out to be a great experience to go to 2 different events in the Com Games, my first ever Com Games. And as I said before, your girl ran track and field. So it was cool to be able to see that in another country and like a Olympic style setup type way, but in Australia. So it was really cool. And then we got to go to rugby sevens. Rugby sevens is dope. So for any of you who are into rugby and rugby seven, rugby is a bit slower, I believe. Rugby sevens also has less people. I believe rugby also has 11 people, like football. But rugby sevens obviously has 7. It's in the name. And it's a bit faster. But we watched the women's rugby seven. Let me tell y'all, these women was balling. And I believe we watched the game between, I forget. It was New Zealand against someone else. Now, for any of y'all who are familiar with rugby and familiar with New Zealand, they kind of known for that, don't? New Zealand be balling when it comes to rugby. And you got the haka, I believe it's called. I hope I did not mispronounce that and disrespect y'all's culture. But that is, from what I've done in my research, it was used in war times in battle as a way to intimidate their opponent, and they brought it over into sports as well. And so a lot of the New Zealand or Kiwi sports, they do a haka before their sporting event. So basketball, rugby, football, whatever the sport they're playing. And it gives me chills every time. If you have never seen it, if you've never experienced one in person, or look it up online, it is such an emotional thing to see in a sporting event. And they do it also for things outside of sports. They do it for weddings and things like that. So it's just an emotional way that they express their communication, I guess you can say. I'm not super familiar, so I don't want to try and speak on this traditional event that happens, but it's just so beautiful and I get chills every time. It makes me feel like I want to get more connected to the roots of my culture, because it's not just something that they do for intimidation. It's not just a ward. It is a group experience. It is practice, it has choreography, and there's leadership, there's call and response. It's just, look it up, y'all. Look up a video of a haka. It is amazing, and I will forever fangirl over it. I hope I get to experience it in person again. It was just such a cool thing. Anyway, back to that. So we go to the events and we get into the track just fine. Now we're going to the rugby sevens, right? Before we even get into the rugby sevens, we only had our tickets online. Turns out they were only accepting tickets in person. The game was about to start. We had our tickets on our phone, and the lady goes, that's a shame. We're only taking printed tickets. Oh, would have been nice to know that when we were at home where Milky had a printer. We are now in the stadium, or outside of it, trying to get in with no printer. We ran to every business that was close, begging for a printer, and most people just looked at us like we were crazy and ignored us and kicked us out. You will never guess the business that actually helped us out and helped us print our tickets. It was a tattoo shop. This guy was, first of all, his work is amazing. His tattoos are dope. I unfortunately do not remember the name of the tattoo artist or the shop right now off the top of my head, but he was mad dope. We go in there, we're sweating. We're like on the verge of tears because we have spent, as I said, a lot of money on these tickets. And now we can't even get in, even though we have them because they're not printed. And we're begging him. We're like, please, 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 do you have a printer? Can we use it? Can we print out our tickets? He's like, yeah, sure, not a problem. We log into the email, we print out the tickets, and we're able to get into the game. I followed that man on his Instagram account immediately after that. I've been following his work ever since. I did plan to go in there for a tattoo at some point, but first of all, homie is pricey, rightfully so, super talented. And I'm pretty sure it was very much out of the way for me. But anyway, back to the day. We get in there and have an amazing experience. We took pictures in front of the field by our seats and just had ourselves a little girl day with some sports and watched our first rugby sevens match together. It was a beautiful time. It was a great day and something that I have remembered ever since. So love you, Milky. Thank you for that. Thank you for our continuous spontaneity and always willing to do adventurous things. And maybe let's try not to procrastinate in our adulthood because, it almost screwed us that time. And I'm sure I have procrastinated on things since then. I am currently procrastinating on things right now as we speak. Anyway, moving on. All right, we are at April 17th now. And remember how I told y'all that my coach wasn't exactly the strongest point of our team with Logan? He was a really nice guy. Really, really nice, super approachable, just not the best coach. Now, April 17th, mind you, I joined the team in March. We get a new coach. And he takes over on the 17th, exactly, starts a group chat on Facebook. It was like, hey, this is the new chat for the team. I have so much respect for the old coach, and we've got work to do. So let's move on. I was like, all right, straight to the point, because we do got work to do. We are not a bad team. We just have not been getting the results that we need. And yeah, we took the steps and started getting in gear right away. April 20th, my first game with my new coach, and I'm starting. You finally gotten that starting 11, and I scored a goal. Right? So we out here, finally in the starting 11. We scoring goals, new beginnings, new starting. Everything is starting to get itself in the right place. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my groove at work. My home life is more organized. I got a whole plan, and my man's is coming soon. Now we on the team with a new coach. We getting things rolling. We getting points on the board. You know what I'm saying? Things are starting to look up. We got the next game after that. I scored again, and I think it was like the 29th or somewhere around there. I don't know the exact date of this game, but this is when the team song was born. For those of y'all who have never been on a sports team or are not familiar, a lot of sports teams have team songs that they sing after they win. Not every team does this, not every sport does this, but in Australia, they did. Very common. And in the locker room, after we won, we would have our team song, and everyone would chant and clap, sing along. I did not know the words. I was very new, and as I said, we had been struggling. So we hadn't won a game to sing this song in the locker room, and we finally won a game. I didn't know the words. So I just did a little jig. I did a dance and my teammates recorded it. It became the new thing. I refused to learn the words. I know the words now. After 3 years of living there and playing for that team, I did learn the words eventually, but I still chose to dance it out. And maybe one day I'll post the video online. But yeah, I just became the new dancer really for the team. So when the team song was being sang, I was doing the dance. And I can't lie, it's really funny. And it's really fun. And that's probably one of the things I missed the most about that team was after we won and we sang the team song and just the energy. And we were loud. We made sure the other team heard us. If you lost to us, I'm so sorry because we made you feel that loss until you made it all the way onto the bus or into your cars going home because we sang about it. We stomped. We slammed tables. We slammed chairs. I did my jig stomping on the ground. All of it. We celebrated to the fullest. Okay? Now, a little bit of a time jump. So before the 29th, we've got the 23rd. This is a bit rough for me to talk about. I get emotional sometimes when I speak about it. I had texted my coworker Milky on the 23rd, expressing some issues that I was having at work. As I said, I had never served before, and I'm new to it, but I'm very social, and I've got a really good memory, turns out. I never wrote anything down. It was actually harder for me to do my job at a quicker pace, writing down the orders. So I don't know the proper, technical scientific name for it. But someone would give me their order. I would remember where they sat and remember their face. And I would be able to remember what they ordered just by looking at what seat they sat in. And somehow it worked. And it just became my thing. I became known for it at work. And as I said, I'm super, super social. So I just would talk to anybody and everybody. I'd ask people about their days. I would invest in our customers because, for one, the company was really growing and really fast. I really believed in what my bosses were doing, the work that they were putting in. They are incredibly hardworking and driven women who had a dream. And I wanted to be a part of helping their dream come to fruition because I just believed that they worked really, really hard for it and they deserved all of the success that they were getting. And I wanted to do my part to make sure that everything could go as well as possible. And I took pride in my job because someone hired me. They put their trust into me to support their work and their business. And I wanted to make sure that I did my part in having things function and learning a new skill and just being the best that I could be. With football, with serving in a cafe, with being an advocate, all of it, it's just how I perform in my places of work, and it didn't change whether I knew what I was doing or not, and I was getting the hang of it, I was learning the menu, I was learning the slang, Zimmel milk. I'm getting my 2 feet in front of me at this point. Now, remember, it's a service industry, so people can tip. People do tip. They did. And we had a jar that the tips could go into if the people wanted to tip the cafe as a whole. I was unfamiliar with the tipping culture in Australia because for any of my Americans listening, you know that tipping is quite literally how people get paid if you're serving at home. You do a really good job, you get a good tip, you take the money home, it pays you bills. In Australia, I was making a livable wage from serving, so I didn't need the tips to survive. But tips are tips. They're extra. And the better I got at my job, the more tips I was getting. People were giving them to me in hand. So as I said, we had a jar for the tips for the company, and people were giving them to me personally in my hand, tucking them in my smock themselves, my apron. And anyway, they would leave it under cups, and they would say, that's for you, or they would leave the table, and they would say, this is for the company, this is for you. Whatever the situation was. My manager, me and this woman did not get along. I'm going to be very blunt about it. She treated me like garbage almost from the day that I started working there until the day that I left. She was very, very racist, discriminatory, judgmental, and I don't want to just talk bad about her. She did have some good qualities. She could be really fun. When she wanted to be a good, sweet person, she could be. But towards me, my personal experience with her, not positive, not great. Almost constantly uncomfortable, almost always on edge. And when she realized that I was getting tips and taking them home because they were personal tips, she expressed irritation and problems with the boss. Now, I believe I mentioned it before, but the owners, my bosses, were best friends with her. When they opened up the shop, she was also there. So she's quite literally a day one. She's complaining to the boss that I'm getting tips and I'm taking them. She said to me, to my face, I was stealing from the company. Now, come on, let's be real. Someone getting tips, personal tips for doing a good job, is never stealing from a company. Even if you do shared tips, there's a jar for that. The customers who are regulars, the customers who come often, or even the customers who come only once, when you go up to the till to pay, they have the jar for tips right there. I have seen customers tip in the jar and still give me tips after. It's their money. Outside of their bill, they did not have to give anything extra because people didn't have to live off of their tips. When they enjoyed the service and they wanted to pay extra, they could, rightfully so. It's their money. And for some reason, homegirl just had a problem with me getting tips. I mean, it wasn't for some reason. I know the reason. She ain't like it. She ain't get tips because she wasn't exactly likable by a lot of people and very temperamental and unprofessional at times. She was there for ages, like I said from the beginning. Very good at being a barista, good under pressure sometimes. And she knew what she was doing. I was the new girl. I had no idea what I was doing. It was very clear that I was picking things up as I went, and I started to get rewarded for my hard work, and she had a problem with it. It got to the point where I then had to have a meeting with my boss, my manager, and I was afraid I was going to get fired. It was my first time being bullied in a working environment. I was quite literally being targeted for being successful at my job. I was being accused of stealing. I was talked down to, made to feel like crap, made to feel guilty for doing my job well. It sounds like it's crazy because it is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. She was going out of her way to make me feel bad for doing my job and pleasing the customers and living up to the high standard that our bosses set for us in our work environment because they were professionals. They're great at their job. My bosses, the one boss was the chef. The other boss was the head barista and worked the front, and they knew what they was doing. And I wanted to live up to that standard. And when I did, it got me punished. I was having fear of being fired. And as time goes on at this job, more and more horrible experiences come with this manager. I have never felt so uncomfortable around a person that had authority over me. In this small cafe where I was working mad hours because I would take any shift that I could get, and my boss just kept giving me shifts with this woman, which was fine. I mean, she worked every day, but there were times that I was closing with her, so it would be just us one-on-one, or opening with her, so just us one-on-one. And then the environment was very tense. To give an example, one time, to keep me off of the floor, to keep me from getting tips, because after it became apparent that I was not going to put my personal tips that I earned into the work jar where everyone's splitting them, because if the customer wanted it to go to everyone, they would have put it in the jar. She put me on cleaning duty, and not just cleaning duty. Everyone did that. We all swept, we all mopped, we all did the dishwasher. Everyone had a role to play. No one was above anyone. What I mean by cleaning duty is I mean cleaning the grout in the walls under the pass to the kitchen. That job has never been done before I started working there. That job has never been done since I worked there. She tried to keep me off the floor so I wouldn't get tips by having me clean the grout in the walls. I have never felt so embarrassed. It was demeaning. I felt like I was being punished for nothing, and I couldn't do anything because she was a person of authority. She was my manager. She was the shift leader, and my bosses were not there. There was nothing I could do. And I felt so small. I felt taken advantage of. I felt like I was being, like I said, punished for nothing. And that feeling has stuck with me ever since. I've never been able to fully get past those experiences at work with this woman. But I've grown from it. I'm tougher now. And I will never let anyone treat me like that again, no matter their title or the authority that they have over me. You will not have me cleaning grout out of the walls to keep me off of the floor because I'm damn good at my job. That's insane. That's insane. And I'm professional. So, yeah. That was the beginning of the issues with my manager. Things get worse from there. But yeah, just the preview into some things that I go through at my job at the cafe. Following that, on the 28th of April, remember that creepy alcoholic neighbor that I told y'all about that be making moonshine out of his garage? Yeah, well, homie came over to drink with my roommate, as they did, and he got a little too lit off of his homemade alcohols, and I don't remember if he fell or if he slipped out of his chair, but he ended up hitting his head and cracking it on the table and then falling to the ground. And I remember just sitting there like, holy shit, is this man going to die? Because he was older and he cracked his head on the table and hit the ground. His head was bleeding. He was insanely hammered, so your blood be thin. And I'm just sitting there waiting for this man to just croak and die. My roommate is also slightly intoxicated, so he's like panicked, but not enough. And he just goes home. You know, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to rest it off and he's going to sleep and maybe go to the hospital the next day or that night and get checked out. No, homie comes back about like 10 minutes later and continues drinking as if nothing happened. Just continued getting hammered after smacking his head on the table, cracking it open, bleeding. You know, why not continue drinking? Yeah, super normal reaction to that. I was very much in a place mentally where I was trying to figure out what on God's green earth makes you believe, as two grown adults, that the answer to someone having a clear concussion, head injury, bleeding, while under the influence is to continue drinking. You can't make it make sense. And in that moment, it was really one of those times where I was like, oh, God, I just got out of a horrible living situation, and now I'm in a situation where I'm having to worry about my neighbor coming over and cracking his head open and bleeding out of my driveway. That's the new norm? Huh. Yeah. Good for me. Now, as I said, going back and jumping in the timeline, the 29th scored another goal. Now, we're going into May. In the NPL, they have this thing called Team of the Week. For the first time, on May 2nd, I made Team of the Week, y'all. I had not even known that it was a thing. I started following Football Queensland on Instagram, and my team always did this thing, which I thought was super great and supporting. It made everyone feel like their accomplishments were being noticed. Everyone mattered. Whenever someone from the team made Team of the Week, they put a screenshot of it in the group chat. And they put the picture in the group chat and they were like, yeah, Natty, you made Team of the Week. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And it was really a big push for me to continue to excel and grow and hone my skills, because now I have a new goal. Not just do my part to make a pro team in Australia by the end of the season, because it went from NPLW straight into the professional W League season. So I was hoping that I could go from this season to moving up to pro. So on top of wanting to make that team, I now also had another goal of making Team of the Week, because it's just more stats. It, pads the resume a little bit, and it's just a nice confidence booster, and it puts your team on the map too, because the more players from your team that are in Team of the Week, the more you're being noticed. That was a little bit of a motivator for me. And then May 10th, we had a game against Mitchie, or Mitchelton. This game, I had 1 goal and 3 assists, and we won 4-2. So I had a hand in every goal that we scored that game. I was on fire, y'all. I don't know what I ate that day. I'm pretty sure I ate a brekkie burger from my work, because that was also something that I did traditionally. After working at the cafe, I would have a brekkie burger on game day. Brekkie Burger is delicious. I'm pretty sure I remember all of the ingredients that are in there. So you have the bun, you got your onion jam, you got smashed avocado, you have a egg, and then you have another bun on top. I don't remember if there's bacon. I believe there's bacon in there as well. But because I always need to add to things, I also put fries in it. That's probably the most unathletic, unhealthy thing you could eat before a game. But it worked. No one come for me because my Brekkie Burger with a little remix in it, it worked. And I was going to continue to eat it before every game. And I did. So there's that. I was robbed of Team of the Week after that, which is crazy because I made Team of the Week before that for only scoring 1 goal. And then I didn't make Team of the Week the next week after making 3 assists and a goal. But as I said, it was just another motivator. And then not making Team of the Week was like, all right, bet. I'm just going to have to keep getting better because I'm going to have to meet the standards that the league has for me to meet this role of Team of the Week as a striker, as an offensive player in this league. And so I wanted to be butthurt, but then I was like, just work harder, be better, score more goals, get more assists. That's all that is. And that was my motivator for all the seasons to come. On May 12th, I had my first experience with the talks of tradition of end of season trips. We're talking about it in the team chat. And this is when I really started to realize how much of alcoholics that Australians are. I suggest the team that we just have a nice little day together, maybe drink some tea. I could bake some goods because for those of y'all who know me, I love to bake good treat, and I'm like, we could bake some, have some tea and hang out. One of my teammates was like, unless there's alcohol in the tea, I ain't drinking it. I was like, you can't just drink some tea? She's like, it's end of season. No one's drinking anything non-alcoholic. I was like, what about the water? And they're like, as long as you follow it with a drink. My new home was scary for my liver and my kidneys. But end of season is a great tradition. I really enjoy it. It's also a thing here in Germany. And I think it's a really great way for teams to continue to bond to going into the next season. For the girls who may not be returning, it's a nice way to have a nice farewell trip with the team and look back on all the memories, make some new ones, and just enjoy the season being over. That's something that us as athletes, we don't really think about time off. Well, most athletes don't. I personally don't. I'm more concerned about when the next season's going to start, preseason. I don't really think about vacationing much. I didn't vacation much as a kid growing up. Most of the times when I went to new places, it was directly involved with soccer, so football, going to tournaments in different states, different countries, but it was always football related. I never really knew what a vacation was, especially like family vacations. But especially here in Europe, they take their vacation time seriously. All right. And as a team, you go on a trip at the end of your season. It doesn't have to be out of country. It doesn't have to be far, but you go somewhere. And yeah, we were speaking about it in that group chat. And that's when I realized that I was not prepared physically, mentally, or emotionally for my first end of season. But it just turned out to be great. It was great. But we'll get to that. We ain't there yet. Let's pause real quick because I also, in this month of May, discovered a new treat that became an obsession of mine. They're called Tim Tams. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of a Tim Tam before. They hit, okay? They're these, I don't know what's in them, like a wafer type thing on the inside. Pretty sure the wafer is also kind of like chocolate flavored. And then they coat it in chocolate. And you can get a double coat, a normal coat. They also have caramel, so they got a little bit of caramel in there. I don't remember the other flavors because those are the only ones that I ever bought. But they're basically crack. I have not tested the treats myself, but I'm sure if you did, there's crack in them. I'm completely joking. Please do not report Tim Tams for having drugs. But they were so good. They were addicting. And I would eat a whole pack to myself very often. They were good. I suggest if you have an international section, if you got a friend who's living in Australia, have them mail you a pack. I know the shipping is outrageous, but have them mail you a pack of them or find an international store near you because they're worth it. They're worth the money. They'd be delicious. Anyway, moving on. We're now May 20th, and I am doing the Tough Mudder with my goalkeeper, Keels. Keely, as I said, nickname shortened for everything. So her real name is Keely, but we called her Keels. And I believe this was the same day as the game. Like maybe we went directly from the game to this Tough Mudder, which is, for those of you who don't know what Tough Mudder is, I'm talking about it so casually, like everyone knows. It's like a Iron Man type thing where you can run like 5K, 10K. You can do half or full. We definitely did the half. We did the 5K. And you have obstacles and different types of things you have to make it through to get to the end. And there were things like climbing a hill of hay stacks. We had to climb under barbed wire. We had to run through this tunnel that had electrified strings hanging from the ceiling. So we were literally getting electrocuted. It was insane. The Tough Mudder is literally tough, and there's so much mud, so the name fits itself. And our smart asses decided to do this the same day as a game. If it wasn't the same day, it was the day before or after. Either way, not smart. But we did it. And it was a great time. We wore Batman boxers because we're cool. And then we had Batman t-shirts because we're double the cool. And we ran the whole thing in our Batman outfits. Keely is one of those people that I cherish so, so much. We don't talk as much now as I'd like to. I'm going to hit you up, Keels. But she was one of the first people on the team to really, really become a good friend to me. She supported me through so much. We were there for each other through all the drama that comes with being a women's footballer, trying to make it up to the professional level. She is our goalkeeper. She was our goalkeeper. And my dad always told me that I've always become friends with goalkeepers because I'm really weird. Like, I'm a really weird person. And goalkeepers are a type of strange that you can only find in specific people because it takes a special kind of person to want to get shot at. Like, really think about it. The kind of person you have to be to intentionally choose to have people shoot balls at you as hard as they can. In the face, in the stomach, in the leg, everywhere. And you're diving on the ground saving them. Takes a special person. I'm a special kind of person. I'm different. I be, running to the beat of my own drum. So it just made sense that I would become friends with goalkeepers. And Keely definitely ran to the beat of her own drum as well. She's one of my favorite people on this planet. Loves her a good Lego set. Great computer programmer. I believe she works in computer programming. Sorry if I'm wrong, Keels. But she's also one of the best keepers that I've ever played with. I mean, her being in goal, even with her jacked up knees, because the girl's knees be given out time to time, countless surgeries, more than a person probably should, but so reliable. Just an absolute brick wall back there, and just a great team player, motivator, teammate, person, friend. She was always there, and she was Logs through and through, in the blood. I just have so much respect for her, and yeah, so only she could convince me to do a Tough Mudder within the same 24 hours of a game, in whatever order it came in. Yeah, I miss you, girl. I miss you. I forgot that I just dropped her name a million times and I wasn't supposed to be dropping names. But now people know who you are. So sorry. My bad. Yeah. That was the end of my May. I know it was only the 20th, but nothing really much happened after that. It was a bit busy. Like I said, booked and busy those 2 months. Didn't find a moment to really be bored, which is always nice and clearly normal for me. But yeah, a lot of experiences, a lot of memories made, a lot of priceless events that I can never really put into words. And made me really look forward to the rest of the time that I was going to be spending in Australia, because that place is fun. I mean, Tough Mudders, touch base, working at a cafe, meeting cool people, playing the sport that I love, just learning how to drive manual, all of it. Every week, it just felt like there was something else to do and something more to learn, something else to experience. So continuously becoming more and more grateful for my time in my new home. And we will stop there in this file. And as usual, fam, it is now time for I Wish I Knew That. So, I wish I knew about Team of the Week. Like, I wish I knew about it sooner, because it's just another motivator and it shows the top talent of the league sometimes. There were times that it got a bit political, a little bit of favoritism. Everyone's got that league favorite or 4 or 5 where they could do probably close to nothing in a game, but because they are who they are, they get nominated for Team of the Week. I also think how it worked, if I'm remembering correctly, that the coaches nominate someone. So each coach from each team, they nominate someone. Then I think the league also has a say in it for the game that happened, and then they pick someone that way. I believe that's how it functions. I could be completely wrong. I don't exactly remember, so sorry if that's not even close to the correct thing, but I think that's how it works. And not even in like a wanting all the recognition and attention of being on Team of the Week, but to see your name in your jersey on Team of the Week on Instagram or on Facebook, whatever, and people from the league can start to see what you and your team have to offer. It really gave just another fire under my ass to keep working hard to show I'm here. I deserve to be here. I deserve the respect, and so does my team. And all the things that I had gone through leading up to my first Team of the Week just really made me realize you're going to put some respect on my name. You're going to put some respect on Logue's name because I'm here, we're here, and we're going to get the job done. So, wish I knew about that a little bit sooner. And for the next little interactive, trust me on this one. So, trust me on this one, set boundaries in all aspects of your life. You deserve respect even when you're new, even when you are quote unquote underneath someone in terms of raking at a job. You deserve respect. In your new home, in your old home, wherever you are a person. And there's no reason for anyone to feel like they can cross over boundaries and lines that you are going to set for yourself as an adult. Even as a kid, everyone deserves to have boundaries set that say, if you're going to speak to me, if you're going to address me, if you're going to approach me, you're not going to do it in this way. Or I would prefer that you do it in this way. Or this is what we're not going to do in the way that I like to say things. What we're not going to do is speak to me like that. What we're not going to do is disrespect me in my workplace just because you may be above me. Or maybe you have a problem with the way that I do things. But unless it is a fireable offense, do not come to me all types of crazy. And when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them, especially in a workplace. I know everyone wants to make friends and blah, blah, blah and all that, especially when it comes to sports, team sports. You really want to have friends and you want to feel like you belong. But when someone shows you who they are, believe them and make that boundary clear to that person, whether it's a teammate, it's a coach, it's a manager, it's a boss, whoever it is. Let people know where you give your space of respect while addressing you, speaking with you, working with you. Because people will do to you what you allow them to. Give them an inch, they go a mile. That saying is so true. And I think that when it comes to foreigners moving to a new place, especially Black women moving to new places, trying to find our way in the work world and make ourselves respected and established, we take a lot of shit. We really do. And we allow people to speak to us some type of way because we're afraid to come off as the angry Black woman or to come off aggressive or just too much. To hell with all that. You can call me aggressive. You can say whatever you want about me. You will not come to me sideways. We're not doing that. I deserve to be treated just like you treat everybody else. I deserve to be spoken to with respect. I'm a human being. Your title is your title, but we are all human beings. And there's no reason why anybody should be made to feel less than, to be demeaned, put down, threatened, when it's not justified. Not that it's ever justified to be threatening people, but sometimes people got it coming. But really, really make sure that you are allowing people to know where you set the line for yourself, especially if you're new, especially as a foreigner in a new space, because they don't know you and you don't know them. So when they come to you in a way that makes you step back and say, I didn't like how that sounded, I didn't like how that made me feel, let them know. It's scary. It can be intimidating, nerve-wracking. I know I was sweating the first time that I learned to step up for myself, had my hands shaking a bit, but then that person knew where I stood. And there was no excuse from that point on to address me otherwise. So trust me on this one. Set your boundaries. Let people know who you is and let them know how to come correct. Continuing with the questions from listeners. I'm not going to say her name this time. Not going to spill somebody else's name without their permission. But this is a friend of mine from home. and she hit me up on Instagram. Coincidentally, for anybody who follows me on my personal Instagram, I posted a story not too long ago about a spider biting me in my sleep. I have found several spiders in this apartment, too many. Some of them are quite decent size for being outside of the Australia range. And I posted about one of the spiders biting me in the face. And we were just getting to talking. And she asked me, did you see any interesting bugs on your travels, but specifically while living in Aussie? Yes. So many different types of bugs and just wildlife in general. There was this one time outside of my house that I lived in later in the timeline, and I don't know what it was, but it was long. Its legs and feet were like so small, not even an inch, and it looked dead almost at all times, but it wasn't. I don't know what it was. It looked like a mixture of a worm and a lizard. I have no idea, but things like that. That was the type of wildlife that I encountered. That was interesting. But she also asked what was the most wild thing that I came across. The most wild thing in terms of like danger and nature itself, I went for a hike with my partner, and coming back, trying to get back to the car, we're walking through the woods because they have their natural forest. They really, really take care of their nature and their wildlife in Australia. They take that shit seriously. And so they have trails, but you basically are just putting like a footpath in nature and saying, take care of yourself. Like, don't get bitten and die. And we're walking back to the car, and we see the most venomous snake in the world. I forget the name of it, but it was black, I believe. And we're walking back to the car, and my partner goes, shh, don't move. I was like, huh. And we stand there, and he's like, just chill. Don't make any sudden movements. And I look to my left, and I see this big behind black snake just slithering right past us. I mean, didn't even pay any attention. I didn't even look at us. Like, it really was minding its own business. Just slithering right past us into the grass, and then we didn't see it anymore. And we continue walking, and I look at him, and I said, what kind of snake was that? He's like, oh, that was just the most dangerous venomous snake in the world. Like, if you would have gotten bit, we maybe would have had 5 to 10 minutes to get you to safety before you died. I was like, oh, cool, super casual. Love that. Just strolling back to my car, and the most venomous snake in the world is chilling. In reality, we were in its home territory. We are in the mountains, the woods. But it's just when you think about like, oh, casual sighting of something that could have killed me in less than 10 minutes, it gets your heart racing. On a less dangerous side, okay, I guess you can call it wild. I did one time driving home with my friend who I mentioned before from my first team at Sal's. Me and her were driving to her house, and a mama koala bear with a baby on its back was crossing the road and held up traffic. Everyone had to wait for the koala bear to cross the road, and it climbed a tree. We literally pulled over, got out, and ran over to the tree to watch it climb up, and saw the mama and the baby just chilling in the tree. And I also have pictures and videos of that. It was super cute and super cool. So not all the nature I encountered was life-threatening, but yes, I had some interesting natural experiences while living in Australia. Coincidentally, the things that are huge are less likely to kill you. So like the huntsman, other than the snakes, they get big and they can kill you. But the spider, in terms of spiders, the bigger the better, really. In Queensland, where I was living, the most deadly spider that can kill you and harm you was this small white spider, I believe it was. And it was so small that you couldn't see it most times. And they love getting in houses. And after I learned about that, I was super paranoid, and I never wanted to go outside again. So coincidentally, bigger the better in Australia in terms of deadliness with spiders. Fun fact. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode at the end and now. Thank you for joining me again as usual. You know what to do. Like, rate, review. Hit me up in my DMs, my inbox, my email for any questions that you got. You can follow on the Instagram page for the podcast, Foreigner Footy Files. You can request to follow me on my personal Instagram and Pinky. You can hit me up on the email for your questions or comments at foreignerfootyfiles@gmail.com. You also have the YouTube channel, Foreigner Footy Files. And I finally am getting the CCs, the closed captions, up on some of those videos. So for my listeners who are from other countries, listening in other languages, you can now go into the YouTube channel and translate the closed captions. I believe that's how it works. You translate the closed captions to your language and keep along much easier. Like I said, I know I'd be speaking fast, and if English is not your first language, or even if it is, sometimes it's hard to understand me, so my bad. But updating those closed captions, we do have one episode up and running with the closed captions. I believe it is file 2 in the Australia folder. Don't ask me why file 2 before file 1, but yeah. So head over there, check it out. And of course, we've got the TikTok up and running. So now you can also head over to TikTok and find me over there, 440 Files. I believe my handle is 440 Nat. So yeah, head over there. Follow me on that as well. Tune back in another 2 weeks and let's kick it together. Bye, y'all.